This video will be dedicated to negative numbers. Now, often we get confused with negative numbers because they don't seem right somehow. That we can have less than 0. Think about less than 0. We can think about nothing, but less than nothing. Some people may have an issue with trying to imagine that. Less than 0. We have 1 less than 0. Okay, so negative numbers are interesting. We normally deal with negative numbers in the context of the number line. So here's a number line. It ranges from, on the left, minus infinity, to, on the right, plus infinity. We could spend a long time talking about what infinity is as well, but we won't. We'll just concentrate on negative numbers. And here we're starting at 0. And I'll put the cursor on the screen. Here we go. As I keep saying, not really a cursor, but anyway, it works. Here we start at 0, and everything to the right here is a positive number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. These are all positive numbers. But if we went the other way, we'd have minus numbers, negative numbers. If my lunch cost £6, but I only have £2, and if I borrow £4, I now owe £4. In other words, I have minus £4. Let's think about that again. If I have £2, my lunch costs £6, let's say, but I only have 2, so I need to borrow some money off one of my friends. So I borrow £4. I have 2, I borrow 4, so that's 6. So now I can buy my lunch. I may now buy the lunch. And if I look here, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, that's what the lunch costs, £6. So minus 4 and the 2 give me the price. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I owe £4 now. I've actually got, my wealth is now minus 4. I now possess minus £4. In other words, if I had £4, I would really have nothing, because I'd have to give the £4 back, because I owe £4. So I have £6 to buy because my friend's given me, or has lent me £4. I have £2, so now I can buy lunch. So we start and count 4 points to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. If we have 2 minus 4, we start at 2, we count 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the answer is minus 2. So if I have 4 and I move to the left, I'll have minus 2. A bit like if I have 2 and I borrow 4, so go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now actually I owe 2 because I started with 2 and I've borrowed 4. So really I've just got minus 2. So the number line helps us to work out the answers here. 2 minus 4. Start at 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we've moved on the left. We've moved to the left side, to the negative side, to the left. So we start 1, 2, 3, 4. So the answer is minus 2. Let's take minus 1 plus 3. Here's our number line again. Now, we start at minus 1 plus 3. 1, 2, 3. We're moved to the right. We're moving in the positive direction. 1, 2, 3. So the answer is 2. We start here and we count over to get 2. Minus 2 times 3. So we start at 0 and count 3 steps of -2, 3 steps of -2, moving to the left. So we're moving in the negative direction. So we start here. Let's start at 0. So now we have a base. We start here. We go -2. Well, there's -2, -1, -2. Now times 3. So we do that 3 times. So there's one set of -2, another set of -2, another set of -2. So the answer is -6. So when we multiply -2 by 3, we now know how we get to -6. 3 2's and take the minus sign, because we're moving in the negative direction. So it's 3 groups of -2. Now -2 times -3. Well, this gets a little tricky, or some people would say it gets very tricky. So let's think about this one. To do this, we need something else. This is a bit more complicated because we've got 2 minus signs here. So we need to introduce this idea of an inverse. Now, to do this, we take, here's our number line again. We've just put that back. So, and now we take this idea of the inverse. We defined an inverse as the negative of a number. So the inverse of 3 is -3, because 3 plus -3 is equal to 0. Note the way I've done this, by the way. I've said 3 plus the -3 is 0. Now, this may sound a little strange, but this can be seen as being a little complicated. This is something that most of us has met at school, and the teachers quite rightly said -2 times -3. You see, a minus times a minus is a plus. Just remember that. Minus times minus is a plus. Well, in this case, we want to delve into it a little more and show that it is a plus. And to do it, we're going to use this idea of an inverse. And that's what we mean by an inverse. An inverse is the negative of a number, so that the inverse of the number plus the number itself is equal to 0. Here's our number line. Joe gives you £10, 2 £10 notes. So he gives you 2, so your wealth has increased by 20. It's plus 10. He's given you 10, so you've got 2 £10 notes, and you've got 2 of them. So there are 1, 2. You can identify them. You can see them. So there are 2 notes of value £10 each. So 2 times 10 is 20. Now, you owe, let's say, 3 debts of £10. You owe Joe 3 debts of £10. So there are 3 debts. That's the 3 of £10. So you owe 30. Your wealth has decreased by 30. You owe Joe 3 debts. You have 3 different debts with this person Joe, and each debt is £10. So you owe £10 3 times. So it's 3, and you owe 3 times minus 10. So you actually owe 30, which is minus 30. Now Joe takes 3 £10 notes from you. Well, the £10 notes, these are positive because they are £10 notes. They're not minus £10 notes. There's no such thing. They're £10 notes, so there are 3 of them. But he takes 3 of them from you. So your wealth has gone down by 30 because he's taken away 10 3 times. Now, Joe takes 3 £10 debts from you. Look at the words here. This is important. Joe takes 3 £10 debts from you. In other words, he's taken 3 debts, so it's minus 3, but the debt is minus 10. A debt is minus 10. You're negative 10. That's a debt. But he's taken 3 of them. So in fact, it's like giving you 30. Your wealth has increased by 30. Because he's taken away 3 debts. He's taken away 3 minus 10s. Many people find all of this very confusing. We found a very wonderful website, mathsisfun.com, and multiplying by negatives and so on. Look it up. It's a wonderful website, and part of what we've got here is inspired by it. So if you have a chance, I've given the address here. It's www.mathsisfun.com. So please look it up. Each number has an additive inverse, which is equal to the opposite number. So a number plus its inverse is equal to 0. We said that earlier. Example. The inverse of 1 is minus 1. So we take 1 and its inverse. If we add its inverse to the number, minus 1 plus 1, it's 0. 5, the inverse is minus 5. If we add minus 5 to 5, we get 0. Minus 2 and 2, we get 0 if we add them together. So the inverse of an inverse is the original number. You have to think about that one. The inverse of 2 is minus 2, and the inverse of minus 2 is 2. So the inverse of an inverse is the original number. So minus 2 is, the inverse is 2, and the inverse plus the number itself is equal to 0. And each number has an additive inverse, which is equal to its opposite number. Examples of the inverse is 1 and minus 1. So 1 plus minus 1 is equal to 0. Note the way I've written this, by the way. I didn't write down 1 minus 1. I'm adding the inverse. The inverse is minus 1, but I'm adding it. I'm showing you that I'm adding it. I start with the number and I add the inverse. The inverse is minus 1, so I'm adding the inverse. I've got a little plus sign here. So 1 plus the inverse is equal to 0. 5, the inverse is minus 5, so it's 5 plus the inverse, which is 0. Minus 2 is 2. So we start with minus 2 and we add the inverse. The inverse of minus 2 is 2. Add them together and we get 0. Now we're still continuing to multiply negatives by negatives. All of this is building up. So the inverse of minus 3 times minus 4 is 3 times minus 4. Minus 3 times minus 4. The inverse of that will be this one. And if we multiply those two together, or if we add them together, I should say, then we should get 0 when we multiply out. So 3, multiplication and division before addition and subtraction. So we should, when we multiply them out, we should get 0. Now the inverse of that is 3 times 4. Now we write it down again. So this one plus this one, this is the inverse up here, this one plus this one, we take out the 3, so we got minus 4 plus 4, that's equal to 0. So we've just confirmed that we've worked out the inverse. The inverse of minus 3 times minus 4 is 3 times 4. That's important. Therefore, a negative times a negative is positive. It's quite clever, really. If you don't follow it all first time round, don't worry. It's almost a little bit of lateral thinking. So don't get too panicked if you don't follow everything exactly. It takes a little bit of thinking about. But this is the way we get to negative times negative is positive. And we're using this inverse concept to get there. This is a proof. Proofs are normally very difficult. You don't have to prove this anywhere. Nobody will ever ask you to prove it. We just put it in because sometimes people say, well, why is minus 3 times minus 3 equal to plus 9? Doesn't seem right. And lots of simple explanations are often offered. You're pointing to the left, the other minus sign turns you around, you point to the right. Well, okay, it's a nice analogy, but this is a much more formal way of looking at it. You won't be asked to prove it, but if you do need to say why is it that negative times negative is positive, there it is. Those couple of slides will give it to you. If you have 2 plus 1, that's 3. So 2 plus 1 is 3. And if you have 3 take away 2, we've got 1. 3 take away 2, which is 1. 1 take away 3 is minus 2. Minus 2 plus 1 is minus 1. So we can see by using the number line how we can get around. But the principle of the negative times the negative, that is exceptional. The rest of it seems to be quite straightforward. It's just simply moving along the line, adding, subtracting, and so on. But when we get down to multiplying negative by negative, that's when it actually gets a little tough. So if I owe you £2 and it doubles, I will now owe you £4. So it's minus 2 times 2, which is 4. Because my debt of £2 has doubled. I may interpret it as follows. If I have a debt of £2, so I have minus £2. Now you doubled the debt, so it's minus 2 times 2, which is minus 4. So now I have minus £4. If you reverse the debt, you multiply it by minus 1. You reverse it. You have now increased my wealth by £4. So minus 2 times minus 2, that is the more traditional way of looking at the minus by minus problem. And look over that carefully and you'll get an alternative explanation. It's another explanation. The one I gave you earlier is a bit more formal. But as I said, don't worry about them. Just remember that negative times negative is positive, negative times positive is negative, positive times negative is negative, and positive times positive is positive. And this is all you need to know. And there's a summary, just in case what I've said is not completely clear. And that's what we've looked at in this video. And that's all I'm going to deal with here. So you may want to copy that down and just keep it copied, but I think most people who can remember their early days at school will remember that positive times negative is negative, negative times positive is negative, positive times positive is positive, and negative times negative is positive. And that's all we need to know. So with that, let's leave it at that and say thank you for watching.